A British woman has been revived from a 6-hour cardiac arrest after developing hypothermia. 34-year-old Audrey Schoeman was hiking in the Catalan Pyrenees in northeastern Spain with her husband when the weather turned bad. But it was the low temperatures which saved her life by protecting her body and brain from deteriorating. And I'm delighted to say Audrey joins me now from Barcelona. Audrey, fantastic to see you and to see you looking so well after this ordeal. Just tell me when you first realised something was wrong.
Well, to be honest, I have amnesia. I don't remember the hike at all. So I didn't really know anything was wrong until I woke up in the hospital surrounded by some very worried-looking people. I think my husband had the worst of that trip.
Yeah, I was going to say, not least of all, your husband, who had realised that something was wrong. You were having trouble speaking and moving during this hike in the Pyrenees. The weather had deteriorated and you were starting to lose consciousness. He called for help. And then what happened?
He called for help when he could. Our phones had both turned off from the cold during the worst of the snowstorm. But fortunately, we'd actually spent the weekend with friends who had already made it to the ski station ahead of us. And so they'd already contacted Mountain Rescue before my husband was able to get in touch with them. So the emergency services knew that we were lost and were able to get our helicopter mobilized and come out to find us quite quickly once they knew where we were. I think that the coordinated effort that Mountain Rescue team put in hindsight is absolutely incredible.
By the time they got to you, your husband said he couldn't feel a pulse, couldn't feel any breath. He couldn't feel a heartbeat at all. You were transferred to hospital, and then what?
The doctors put me onto a machine which is called an ECMO machine, and as I understand it, it's really state-of-the-art technology, and it's probably the only thing that could have saved my life. I was very lucky to be taken to that hospital. What the machine did was my blood was being taken external to my body, and it was so serving as heart and lungs. It was oxygenating my blood and removing the carbon dioxide while simultaneously warming my blood. So they were able to bring me back up to a more stable temperature and make sure that my body wasn't deprived of oxygen in the meantime.
And how long did this process take, Audrey?
I think by the time I arrived at the hospital, the timeline is based on my husband's WhatsApp messages to our friends in the emergency services. So I think it was about 3 hours and 10 minutes from when I lost consciousness and stopped breathing until I arrived at the hospital. And then it was another 3 hours at the hospital, more or less, I'm not sure exactly, until they were able to restart my heart using the defibrillator. But they kept me on the machine for, I think, about 40 or 44 hours in total, just to make sure that I was stable and that my brain had recovered enough for them to detach me and let my heart and lungs work normally.
I mean, talking to you, Audrey, it's quite remarkable to hear what you've gone through just a month ago. How are you now?
I feel really back to normal. It's a month ago today that I came round, that I woke up. And my recovery has been much more rapid than the doctors expected. There aren't that many documented cases of recovery from this kind of severe accidental hypothermia and cardiac arrests of this length. And obviously the technology is really, it's improved a lot, and the team that rescued me and the doctors did everything right. So I've been able to recover very quickly. I feel almost as good as new. My hands have some problems with nerve damage. That's a very small price to pay for what could have been so much worse.
And on an emotional level, how do you deal with the knowledge of what you've been through, but also your husband having witnessed it all?
It's definitely worse for him than it is for me. I think I didn't really take on the seriousness of what I'd been through until I was out of hospital and able to read more and ask more questions. And so I've had time to absorb it slowly and take on each new piece of information as it comes. He's going to have to live with the memories of that day, and he didn't know that this technology existed. He thought I was dead, and he's doing okay. He's very strong. I think he's going to be all right, but it's definitely a lot.
And I saw a clip of you speaking earlier. You're not ruling out a return to the mountains, Audrey?
I hope not. I love them, and I wouldn't like to let this take that away from me, from us, but not until summer.
OK. Audrey Schoeman, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. Really a medical phenomenon there. Audrey Schoeman, who was revived after a 6-hour cardiac arrest. Thank you.